Okay!
Hello everyone, Christian here on JoyClicks, back talking about the God of Thunder himself, Thor. In Marvel's Avengers, he's looking to be my choice of character to spec out and play when it comes to multiplayer for Marvel's Avengers dropping next year. Apologies for the delay, got back in the swing of things at school, it's my senior year, lots of stuff to work on, but today I thought we'd wrap up the Avengers breakdowns with talking about Thor, who again is 100% gonna be my guy come time to play Marvel's Avengers. So the interesting thing about Thor is that he's very contained in his gameplay section. I think he's a very good display of all the mechanics we talked about in the previous videos for Cap, Black Widow, Hulk, and everybody. Thor has a very good display of hand-to-hand combat using his iconic weapon and the abilities we see in the bottom right, which we've now learned are called heroics. Throughout the entire gameplay chunk, we see Thor going to town on a lot of these villains, switching off between hitting people with Mjolnir, throwing Mjolnir, using his God of Thunder powers, or just beating some dudes up with his fists. The exciting thing about Marvel's Avengers that I have brought up in the past is that the lead combat designer for the game is also someone who worked on God of War 2018, and that's most apparent here with Thor. I do think the heroics are a follow-up to that God of War system where you could slot out different super abilities that you could trigger during combat, but specifically the display between swapping out of using the hammer, using your fists, kicking some dudes around, and then using the supers reminds me a lot of Kratos in God of War. We see similarly to Kratos in the Leviathan axe that Thor is able to throw Mjolnir to wipe out people further away, call it back to him. While it's gone, he can use his fists. So it seems there's a lot of flexibility and adaptability for playing as Thor. The coolest part though is when he does summon all of his thunder. We see him trigger the L1 ability in the bottom right hand of the screen, which allows him to call thunder from Valhalla, Asgard, wherever he draws it from, and use it to his advantage, raining fire down upon his enemies while he continues to pick them off with his brutal hand-to-hand combat. Unlike anyone else though, we do get a chance to see Thor's second heroic on his R1 trigger. We see Thor summon a tornado, which allows him to pick up a handful of tougher enemies that just drop in at the last round of this arena fight, and allows Thor to do a blast, sending him flying and wrapping up Thor's gameplay section. So like I've said in the other gameplay breakdowns for each Avenger, there is a lot of similarity, I personally think, on the surface level and through progression of these heroics to God of War 2018. I really enjoyed that combat system, so seeing Thor here represented the way that you expect Thor to fight. Sure, he's not just immediately squashing all of these enemies and you could say, oh, it's Thor, he's a god. Why isn't he just flicking these people? It would be a pretty boring game, personally, if that's what we were dealing with. Kratos is a god too. Kratos deals with the Draugr fine in God of War, so I think the reasoning there is fine. If they want to scale Thor's power down a little bit to be on more par with his teammates, I'm all good with that as long as it's fun to play, and throwing Mjolnir around for sure looks like it's fun to play. And because of that, because I love Thor so much, that is the reason that I am locking in my pick to be Thor when I squad up with my friends to play Avengers next year, and maybe potentially sooner because of the beta. So we'll see how that progresses, but until then, now that we talked about every single Avenger, I want to hear from you. Out of the ones we've gone through, who stands out to you the most, who you want to main for multiplayer, and because we do know more heroes are coming down the line, we might actually get to play as Ms. Marvel through this campaign. Who else would you like to see come to the game? I want to know, I'm curious to know, and it seems like everything's going to be fair game right now because they want to support this game for a while, it seems. So as of right now, the possibilities are endless. So before I head out today, before we head out for the state of play happening at PlayStation, I wanted to just say one more thank you. Thanks for helping us hit 1,000 subscribers on JoyClicks. It means so much to me. Still working out some timing with my schedule to iron everything out so we can get this machine running as it should for the fall. But you can look forward to episode 1 of our new podcast, Jedi Nights, a Star Wars retrospective review series on October 4th, where we will be watching and reviewing Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So if that does sound exciting to you, I'll link to that below on podcast services and the playlist on the YouTube channel. But Thanks again, thanks for the support. Thor is awesome, and as always, good vibes and good game.